I'm Eleni, and this is the Mum Mumble podcast, a podcast created with the women and mothers of Cyprus in mind, but one that has managed to attract men and fathers too, which is absolutely fantastic. Because it means that you get to listen to dads talk about the stuff that they care about. Today on the show, I've managed to bring Sean Alimov, a dad of two girls, a proud dad of two girls, who is also the founder of the Youth Tech Initiative, a fully inclusive initiative that aims to ignite a passion in kids for creativity, innovation, technology, and art. It also gives access to quality education and career opportunities, which are two issues that we will be discussing a lot on the podcast today. Quality education and career opportunities to kids aged 4 to 18, regardless, as Sean says, of their socioeconomic status, gender, background, learning, social and cognitive vulnerabilities, which are also issues that we will be talking about on the podcast. The reason this interview is coming out on a weekday instead of a Saturday is because this Saturday is the Youth Tech Initiative's festival. So obviously we wanted to get this out to you before the day. So on today's episode, you will hear about all the aforementioned and also about the Youth Tech Fest Cyprus that will be happening this Saturday at the Frederick University in Limassol. Now, on with the show. Sean, welcome to the studio.
Thank you for having me.
You've come from, is it Larnaca or Limassol?
Larnaca.
Larnaca, okay, all right. So you've left the seaside and you've come into town.
Yeah.
You like...
I'm a city boy right now.
You're a city boy. You're an old Nicosia city boy right now.
Yes.
So after we spoke on the phone last week, you said a lot of interesting stuff as far as education is concerned. This is a podcast that is mainly targeted towards parents. So I thought that what you have to say, your knowledge, will be of interest to my audience. So I wanted to get started with STEAM. We hear that word often, yeah? I mean, it's something that we're all familiar with. What do we mean when we say STEAM? If you could answer that question for me. And also, why does it matter?
Very good question. Thank you for asking. So STEAM stands for Science, Technology, Engineering, Art and Mathematics. It's actually not a new concept. It started with the concept of STEM, which is Science, Technology, Engineering and Math. They now added A for Art. And it's all about developing specific skills. And in fact, there is gone broader from the sort of a STEM education into the STEM careers.
Oh, okay.
And they are the ones that are developing, in my opinion, skills and competencies of the young generation, which is applicable to our technology-driven society right now.
Okay.
So it's very important that the children acquire the skills that within this sphere.
What would you say was the equivalent before STEM or STEAM came along? Was there anything like it?
I think if you look at the wording itself, it's always been there. We've always been educated in subjects at schools like science. There's always been an element of mathematics, always present there, engineering element, etc. So I think they kind of formalized it. But from what my understanding is STEM as a concept was originally designed for the tertiary level students. But then it was kind of transformed to the school level, pre-tertiary level. And now it's mandated that all the schools starts activities within STEM educations, STEM education from primary level, secondary level.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was my next question. I was going to ask you, when we say, I don't remember the word you used, but implemented into education, is it being implemented into education as something that we should be paying attention to?
It is. It is. Yeah, it's being implemented. It's being mandated. All the schools, both at public and private level, have to do it. So it's a mandate.
Okay, but what does it look like? Is it just a subject, just a period in amongst the other subjects that they do?
Well, it's actually, if you look at your schools, your children's schools schedules and things like that, you will see them.
Well, I do. For mine, I do. People know this, that my kids go to private school, so I do see the word STEAM there as a subject.
That's right.
And I have to say that one of my boys particularly absolutely loves the subject.
I bet it does.
He really does. And I was also going to add to that, and this will be something that we'll cover as well, is that this particular child of mine has a learning disability. So he has dyslexia. And for some reason, which I'm sure that you might be able to explain, STEAM is a subject that speaks to him, and there is no fear behind it whatsoever. But let's go. We'll talk about that. But let's go back to the how they're implementing it in the system and in the actual school material.
In Cyprus.
In Cyprus, yeah.
Okay. Admittedly, I'm not a teacher, so I don't know all the nitty-gritties in terms of how it's implemented.
Mm-hmm.
I do find when I speak to the public schools, it's very different to how it's viewed in the private schools.
Oh, it is.
So, but then also you need to understand the limitations that's imposed on, and it's almost like two different approaches and how it's governed as well. So, for example, public schools, naturally, they have a lot of limitations. And so they have to abide to a specific curriculum. And it's very difficult for them to do anything unique within the schools because, for example, assessments are still paper-based. So it's almost like... It's almost kind of counterproductive to talk to them about latest technologies available in educational system because they still have to do the paper-based assessments and things like that.
Yeah.
So it's very difficult. Whereas the private schools, their reputation based purely on where they students will end up in terms of universities. And we have amazing schools in Cyprus, American Academy, for example. We've got Pascal, which is where my kids go to in Larnaca. We've got Foley's, we've got Heritage, all these different schools, Aspire, International School of Paphos. This is actually a myriad of the established private schools in Cyprus. And now we see an inflow of new guys that come into the educational systems. And they, from what I understand, they actually don't want to compete with the established players. They almost want to disrupt them.
Okay.
And they have a really big financial backing behind them in order to do that. Like, for example, they want to develop a specific center, specific labs. They're going to be looking into the unique technologies like AI, for example, artificial intelligence. They want to look at creating labs that are going to be doing really cool stuff with the 3D printing, etc. So they're trying to disrupt the system by embedding activities in line with the existing curriculum, which is admittedly very outdated.
Yeah. These establishments, are they available to the public or to whoever has enough money to pay their fees? I mean, what are these establishments?
If you're referring to the establishments or infrastructures that these guys are developing or planning to develop, then they are developed specifically for the students of the school. Okay, so I haven't heard, although it's a very good point, if it's going to be available to the public. But typically, if we're looking at a sort of a global perspective, these are the schools that are going to be designing all these activities, all these programs specifically for the students.
Okay.
And yeah.
Do they have to abide by the ministry?
Well, they have to follow the mandate as far as the curriculum goes. The rest of the after-school activities, extracurricular activities, I think they have a certain flexibility.
Well, I was going to ask you, but it sounds like a silly question now. I was going to say, how invested are we as a country and as an education system in STEAM subjects? And you've just answered that.
No, actually,
more?
I think this is a really great question. Do you know what? For me, the winning formula for the successful investment in education, and this is something that came from our research, is when you have an active engagement between businesses, between academia, between communities, and then, of course, the government.
Okay.
So if I had to answer this question 2 years ago, as an expat, my answer would have been, you know what, I think it's very little, almost none. However, now we launched this initiative last year, and I started to get to know better the educational ecosystem here. I have to say, we have already have some great initiatives and programs and even infrastructure that is very friendly to STEM education and skills development.
Wow, there's progress.
You
seem just as shocked as I am about this.
Well, you know what? They are actually very well organized, I have to say, and they're run by our partners. They supported and funded heavily by EU and government here. And also there is some funding comes from the local businesses across various industry verticals, typically big businesses that established here. So I understand there is some funding coming from it, but the majority of the funding comes from the EU. Okay. So there are several programs that EU developing right now, specifically for digital skills and STEM education. And Cyprus is one of the biggest beneficiaries of receiving those funds.
Wow.
Okay, so, government itself, I worked with the organizations like Invest Cyprus, for example. They have already introduced incentives to attract specifically technology-driven businesses to Cyprus. And these guys are coming now with tons of incredible talent, knowledge, and expertise. So as far as the investment for the country like Cyprus, I think it's at the progressive stage. Having said that, I feel the improvements are needed in order to make a sustainable impact. Because I feel all those activities, all those programs, all those events that are being organized in the area of robotics, in the area of science, in the area of developing business and financial acumen entrepreneurship, they're geared towards a very specific segment. It's a Greek-speaking segment. And although some of them are actually backed by international brands, and it's a franchisees of big organizations based, for example, in the States. The activities are geared towards the Greek-speaking market, and you can see actually if you come to those events, you can see there's a lot of there's increasing participation from the expat community. Okay, whether it could be a Russian-speaking community, could be Israelis, Arabics, because we've got a very diverse multicultural community in Cyprus. So I believe in terms of the improvement, the first improvement needs to be made. This needs to be more open and inclusive to those as well. Yeah. The second one, I would say, in terms of the investment and improvement, again, the winning formula is between active collaboration between businesses and academia. It's the businesses that need to support the schools. Like, for example, I met, this is another thing in terms of the investment. Again, when we talk about investment, it's not just money investment. That's how I view it.
Yeah.
Like, for example, I met some incredible teachers from public schools that dedicate their own money, because they don't know anything about acquiring sponsorships. They don't get support from the government, any funding. So they pay out of their own pocket for things like robotic kits, etc. They dedicate their own time to educate these children, because so passionate about it. In fact, the European Commission report for education in Cyprus, which was done in 2023. It's called Education and Training Monitor Report, and they do it for every country.
Yeah.
It actually states that in Cyprus, the 95% teachers who are actually reasonably well qualified to be teachers, they're actually driven not by the a personal interest or things like that. They're actually driven by the fact that they want to make a difference. They want to children. So there's a lot of great teachers here as well. But there is not much interactions between businesses and academia.
Yeah.
And I think the CSR programs, the corporate social responsibility programs, or ESG programs and environmental social governance programs of the companies here, they don't seem to be focusing on children's education. And I think that needs to be improved. I hope that answers your questions.
It does answer my question, and it makes me a bit sad, I must admit. But I would like to take it one step further, and if you could tell us what this means about the job sector, and when it comes to our kids finishing school and having to go into these businesses. Are they properly equipped? And let's talk about both the public and the private sector, if we can. I heard somewhere, Sean, that apparently, I don't know if you might have said this to me on the phone, 70% of jobs that are now available won't be available, or they will be very, very different.
So a Dell Corporation back in 2018, they did a study and they actually combined, I think, about 20 partners in it with the different sort of technology-driven companies and other big players, Fortune 500 companies, executives, when they looked at the future jobs. And back in 2018, they said that 85% future jobs do not exist.
80%?
So 85% of the future jobs by 2030, which is in 6 years from now
Which is tomorrow, basically,
yeah. Which is tomorrow. They do not exist. And that hasn't changed much because technology is developing at a rapid pace. And, the advancements of technologies like, for example, artificial intelligence, and it's a quite known factor.
Well, I was going to say, a lot of people are demonizing AI right now and saying that a lot of, probably what you're saying, 85% of jobs won't be available because for some reason AI will become so vast in knowledge that it will replace jobs.
It will become. It's already happening. Okay. It's been happening for, and it's not just the jobs related to the AI development. It's just in general. Like, for example, do you remember back in the days we had Blockbuster shops?
Oh, God. I used to love going with my card and
renting. Exactly. I used to have one of those press was like a videotape.
It's because we are.
And then you got they've got DVDs now.
Yeah, awesome. Or the new ones come, I'm going to go and get it. And there's only 3 available and they're fully booked.
And that was a massive industry. You know, there's a lot of people were employed, lots of people were trained. There's the whole thing was around it. It's no longer there.
Yeah.
So it's I could talk about this until the cows come home. So There's a lot of jobs that now are being replaced by technology, and then AI, in its essence, it's actually it's designed to make our life easier. Like, for example, we believe in establishing foundation for children. We believe in a holistic education and equipping them with the right skills. Because in Cyprus alone, looking at a small country where we have only few industries here, what they're saying is that 40% of the future well-paid jobs require STEM graduates.
Oh,
okay,
wow.
So this is for a small, a tiny country, and we, if you look at us as a performing, we actually setting a high standards in attainment of the higher education degrees, like university degrees, etc. Yeah. So.
Yeah.
But the funny bit is that the rate of science, technology, engineering, and maths graduate as a share of the graduate is actually the lowest in EU. Okay, so and especially with the girls. I'm a father of two girls.
Okay,
I just feel it's just ridiculous, and there is no actually monitoring currently. I'm hoping it's improving. From what I understand, in gender equity.
Okay.
In higher education.
Yeah.
So
I'd love to go into gender as well, because actually, especially in Cyprus, when I see or hear the word STEAM, there seems to be a focus on gender and on promoting it within the group of girls. So I'd love for you to explain that to me. Why and how and where our boys come into it. But I did want to go back to the AI question, and I did want to ask you, is it something that we should be scared of? Or is it something, what I'm getting from you now is that we need to learn to work side by side with it? Or is it none of those?
So, no, I think it's a combination of all of that. I don't think we should be scared, although some of the things are really, really scary. Like,
all the deep fake and all that
stuff.
Oh
my God. It's like this guy, there was a speaker at our first event, and he was talking about elements of the cybersecurity. So he did these fantastic presentations, giving quite a lot of thought-provoking thoughts for the audience in terms of how, as a teachers and as a parents, we need to be wary about where we're putting the content. And then at the end, he puts this video. I'm telling you, the hair on the back of my neck was standing out. There was this young girl basically pleading with the parents to be careful where they're putting her photos and information about her.
Okay.
Like, for example, the photos could be used to steal her identity. She could lose the job, so she could go to prison, etc. And then at the end, it's like, or worse. So there is blurred picture shows up. And you can tell that the person is, it's all blurred, but you can tell it's naked. The person is naked, and then there is on the top there is like a statement, "Sexy babe on the beach." So she could be used for all sorts of malicious purposes. Like, and AI is crazy. There's another thing they were telling me, and again, as a parent, I'm just getting a little bit concerned about these things.
No, we all are. Believe me, we all are.
Evidently, let's imagine like you do, a speech during a wedding, or you're having like a party with your friends and somebody videoed it, put it on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, whatnot, all these different channels. So the AI can actually read your accent, read your dialect, your Croydon London accent, when you speak English, your Cypriot dialect when you speak in Greek, and it can use it. Like, for example, your husband could receive a call thinking that it holds the conversation, like a normal person, and it could be used for all sorts of things. So it is.
I think. I remember someone told me about this. You're right, and said someone could actually create a whole podcast where it will sound like it's you, and it won't be you, and you will be saying things that you would never dream of saying, and no one would know.
Yeah. Well, everyone talks about things like ChatGPT, and it's like almost at its infant stage, but everybody's already wowed by it.
Yeah.
I don't know about you.
I haven't used it. I haven't got anywhere near it.
Well, I could tell, like sometimes I get messages on LinkedIn sent to me, and I could tell that it was written by ChatGPT because
How?
You could basically ask them, I want to, sell business to Sean, who is involved in financial sector currently, so what invite letter I should write, and it writes invite letter for you. It could write an essay, it could write the reports.
But how would you know that it's ChatGPT?
Because you can tell it's
It's performative a bit, isn't it?
No, it's like a jargon they use and things like that. Like it comes from somebody that maybe in Latin America or in India, but it's like really elaborate, eloquent language is being used.
Lots of adjectives,
lots of fancy wording. And
you're
you're
right.
thinking like, listen, you know what? It's clearly written by somebody else. Most likely. But it's at its infant stage, as it's going to develop, it's going to be really, really advanced. Now, the scary part is, and again, this is just my opinion. The way I look at these technologies like artificial intelligence, I look at it a bit like math. Okay, you learn at primary level. Let's say, hey, Sean, you've got one apple. I give you another apple. How many apples do you have? Two apples. As you progress to the secondary sixth form, it's become more trickier. And then I'm a son of immigrants from Soviet Union, where I did my first degree in engineering. I went to 5-year style education in engineering. So you also study high mathematics. Okay, so you need to have a specific calculators, and all this kind of stuff. So AI, if you look at its deployment, how it's been utilized within certain companies, like for example in the gaming industries, in the social media, etc., it's really, really advanced.
Yeah.
But in Europe, they're not being taught. Like we've got literally no Scooby-Doo about what AI is.
That's
it's not
so
being
true.
taught at the school level as a fundamentals. It's not being taught at the university level, although I understand now there's different master courses coming in. But master course to me, it's a bit like doing masters in engineering. You don't need to do a background in engineering to do masters in engineering.
Okay, when you've already done it. Okay.
It's like you may have done your journalism course.
Yeah.
And then you want to do masters in engineering, you can actually do that.
Okay.
So you don't need to have like
a similar
background, or there's no like entry things that are from But nobody teaches us about AI at the moment. And we had one of the speakers I brought, it was actually recommended by Microsoft. Mike Lloyd, he ran Microsoft Worldwide Educational Group for 13 years. He's now went on and set up his own company called Learn-Tech. So I understand that when Microsoft, who is the leaders in AI, receive a tender from financial institutions, from like Fortune 500 companies, he's one of the first people they will approach.
Wow. Okay.
So he is actually the guy, one of the few guys in the world that I know that could write a curriculum both at school levels, like a fundamental stuff, and also for the universities.
Wow.
And when I asked him, I said, Mike, why haven't you done it?
Yeah.
He goes like, for the public schools, it's very difficult to scale. With everything that he's got in plate. He goes like, I never actually done it. I said, well, what about, but we have a really good connections with the private schools in Cyprus, for example. We had a visitors that came to first event from Nord Anglia. Nord Anglia is the largest operator of private schools in the world. We had a representation from GEMS Education in the Middle East. They're one of the biggest players of private schools there. And he goes like, well, if you're talking about private schools, then we can talk, because these guys have the means, intentions, and also potentially investment in facilities. So, But AI, just to come back to your questions, I think we need to be aware of it. I think there should be a lot of learning, especially for us as parents, because I feel we are the ultimate educators. We're the one that driving, competencies, preferences, career choices for our children.
Yeah.
And I think we're almost reluctant for our children to be exposed to it because we ourselves don't understand it.
Yeah.
So
That's so true.
And this is actually the whole point of the festival that we're doing on a Saturday. Yeah. It's done in a sort of in a way where we want the parents to also understand the technological element of it.
I feel that we need to be one step ahead of it, and we're not. And there are a lot of people, I feel, and a lot of parents who are just either find it just way too complicated or way too scary. And for them, the answer to the impossible question of how do I protect my kids is to either not give them phones or think that their kids are not, or that their kids are oblivious to whatever is going on online. And that's simply not true. We have to be one step ahead.
Do you know what? You're so right.
And it's a huge stress, by the way.
But it's like a coin with two sides, right? What would you choose? And again, I don't know if I've done the right thing. Me and my wife, I don't know if we've done the right thing, and I know, like, for example, even my mother would probably argue that this wasn't the right choice, but we decided not to deny access to the mobile devices like phones, iPads for our daughters.
Mm-hmm.
Like my daughter is, two of my daughters, 10 and 7. They've had the phones and iPads since, last 2 years. But I feel like my wife does really well in terms of controlling how much time they're spending a day.
Yeah.
To have access to it. In parallel, they get engaged in a lot of activities outside school, outside home, like they go to the art classes.
Yeah.
They do like these dance lessons, we used to know this lady from the UK, they run the horse riding school outside Lanark.
Yeah.
They would go there, get exposed to nature,
You're trying to balance it.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. I feel that's what a lot of us are doing. But you said that your wife, tries to control the time. With me, I find that it's not just controlling the time because, we have a set time as well. Everything is finished and done. Once you've put your pajamas on, you've had your bath, you've had your dinner, then you get some screen time. But it's not just about controlling the time that they're spending on these devices. It's also trying to control what they're seeing, what pops up, when they're on YouTube, which I absolutely despise YouTube now. But with my first son, who's 13 years old, when he started watching YouTube about 4 or 5 years ago, all of a sudden you would see these things pop up on the screen and you're like, whoa, why is Spider-Man on top of Snow White in a bed?
Yeah. No, it's true.
And, it's just constant.
And
it's constant.
At least YouTube, you had a chance to be exposed to it, right?
Yeah.
So you kind of have a limited knowledge of the of the platform in terms of how it works. Now, when it started, it wasn't so many adverts. Now you get a lot of adverts popping up, and some random stuff could be popping up, like you've mentioned.
Yeah.
Now they've got other platforms like TikTok, for example. I'm not on TikTok.
I'm not on TikTok.
So
our age is showing again, Sean.
Yeah. So, for example, Facebook. Yeah. Facebook is no longer conducive to the young generation.
Yeah.
That's the reason why they bought Instagram.
Yeah.
So now we've got different platforms, which also, if you think about it, they're affecting the attention span of our children because it's a swiping kind of economy. You're only exposed to certain things for like a few seconds.
Few seconds, 15-second videos.
So
is it really limiting their attention span?
I think they're just becoming used to the
short form.
Exactly, short form content delivery, consumption and stuff. And again, this is something that we as a parents, I think we need to understand, respect, and find the ways of working around it. Like, I don't know about you, when I was younger, I used to, be given the book by my parents or by my teachers to read, and they will have practically no pictures.
Yeah.
And you're utilizing the brain, like you forming the picture by reading the book, or you got given like science books, like in biology and chemistry, and it's full of different formulas and things like that. So you're learning to consume content, through those means. They've got a completely different means now for being exposed and consuming the content. So unless we understand what's conducive for them, I think it's going to be almost a losing strategy for us to force them to do what we used to do.
Yeah. It's almost like their brains are processing information in a different way now.
They are.
They are, actually.
No, they are. Yeah. Like think about it. Like, they want to learn about the history of Greece, for example, or they want to learn about big smoke, fire in London and things like that. All they do, they just put it in a device and you get the pictures, you get the information accessible to them like on the fly.
Yeah.
It's just so yeah.
Wow. Okay. We're going to come back to the parents and educators because I want to finish on that. But let's go to gender and STEAM. There's a lot of push there's a lot of push on girls to get into STEAM subjects. Why is that? And how is that performing?
In my opinion, again, I think the shortages of STEM professionals currently, and especially in the technology-driven society that we're living in, it just forces rethinking in terms of how we're shortening this talent gap.
Okay.
Like in the UK, for example, I'm part of the initiative work in fintech, and this is about attracting young children to the careers in the fintech industry and giving them opportunities for the exciting, education and career prospects, regardless of the socioeconomic status, the gender, the background, and maybe even people that have, maybe learning, cognitive, like social limitations, disabilities, maybe, etc. So, and they, like companies like Revolut, for example, Goldman Sachs, it's actually part of their strategy to attract these people. So they do a lot of activities with schools, with universities, specifically promoting STEM careers, future STEM careers to the segments like girls, like ethnic people, talented guys that coming from the immigrant sort of communities. So I still think we're not doing as well as we could be.
Okay.
But then again, maybe as a father of girls, and seeing my sister and my mom, I think there are just sort of a different cultural things that comes with it as well. And one of the speakers at our event last November, they were saying how, the boys get like a little robots, maybe a little, like Legos and style toys, like something like games, and things like that.
Yeah.
And the girls get given like pink, toys, and it's that stigma, like that's thing that we're still following.
Yeah.
Although somebody showed me a research that's saying apparently by the age of 4, girls are more prone to, analytical thinking, creative thinking, etc. But it's never been, nurtured and fostered.
Exactly.
And then, for example, I would imagine probably your culture is very similar to mine. Mothers and, when the daughter is being brought up, they say, look, one day you're going to be a mother.
Yeah.
You're going to be a wife. So you need to prepare yourself for that. You may find a husband where you're going to be stay-at-home mom, and it's kind of a mentally it's a lot of challenges to bring, I think, the ladies into the.
Well, I think it's also that we're raising girls to be mothers and wives, which used to be a very old-fashioned thing. We're still doing that, but we're also telling them that, by the way, you also need to study, you also need to get a degree, you also need to go to university,
right.
You also need to get a job. The problems come later on when women do have families and realize, shit, like it's very difficult to balance these two parts of my life. And I think that's where we're messing up a little bit. The fact that, they're young and we're telling them that to become a woman is to have kids and be married. But that you also have to study and you have to do this. And you've got this generation of very confused girls who end up saying, sod family, I'm going to go and I'm going to get this. I'm going to go and do that. I want to learn. I want to become something bigger than just a mum or just a wife. The good thing now is that obviously girls do have more choices, and that is absolutely thrilling to know that a girl does have the opportunity to choose if she wishes to do so. I feel that the problem is that we're also not educating our boys to become nurturers. We're not educating our boys to become good fathers, to become family men, to know how to cook, how to clean. So I think once we bridge that difference, then things will get on a better path.
Good points, yeah.
When it comes to gender, yeah. I wanted to ask you, let's go to the learning disabilities. Because you did say this over the phone the other day when we were talking, and it's something that, as I said, because I'm now involved in this as a mother of a child who has learning disabilities, there's something about these kids that draws them to technology, that draws them to the subjects that make up STEM and STEAM. Do you have any statistics on that or any research on that, or how and why is that happening? And if so, why aren't we pushing these kids towards these subjects a bit more?
That's another very, very interesting question. The first time I actually came across this topic, it was back in, I want to say 2018 or 20, where SAP, or SAP as they called, and Microsoft, they actually had this program. They were doing these pilots. SAP was gonna hire 650 autistic employees, and then Microsoft was doing this pilot program to hire people also with autism for the full-time positions. And I was just thinking, you know what? Autistic kids, usually they're being said, don't do that, don't do this, don't go there, like they can't go into the loud
being
crowds
locked up in the house with the mom, just
it was like, what's going on here? Why would they suddenly look into the specifically looking at the segment of people that have, I would say, this learning, social and cognitive limitations, disabilities. Mm-hmm. And I saw this guy's publishing. The last name may ring the bell to you. This guy's name is Sir Simon Baron-Cohen. Do you remember last name Baron-Cohen?
Yeah.
Yeah. So he's actually a cousin of Sacha Baron Cohen.
Okay.
So the
All right.
actor, the Borat.
Yes. That's the one. He popped
yeah.
into my mind like, what were you doing there? But that's okay.
Sir Simon Baron-Cohen, he was knighted actually for in 2021 for his work that he's done as a director of the Autism Research Center at the University of Cambridge.
Okay.
He actually looked specifically at autism as he basically said that people with that, with autism, they think like scientists. Okay, they look for patterns, and in science, you're always looking for patterns. That you hope reflect a natural law. And this is another thing. I think it's all about providing the right access and the tools to the guys with the disabilities, and really understand the environment in which they can thrive.
Yeah, exactly.
Because everybody's got different sort of things. But these are the guys that shown that, especially in sort of, again, coming back to the STEM field, how can I put it? So every employee, especially in within the big companies, right? They look for same few things when they're hiring people. First is the attention to detail. Second is the loyalty, and the third is reliability.
Wow.
Okay.
So
these actually traits, if you think about it, providing again the right access, the right environment, the right tools, it's really people with the certain disabilities could really fit the bill nicely.
Yeah.
Providing they're given all that access.
Yeah.
Because they tend to have almost like extraordinary abilities to remember and recite lists, and remember this information, do complex calculations in their head. They also tend to deep dive into the areas of interest. So if you ignite the interest in a certain subjects, they will be literally going into it, like all in, developing this, almost like encyclopedic knowledge.
Wow.
Yeah. So, for example, one of our partners at the event, they do things like woodworking.
Okay.
And again, you can bring your kids. They'll be doing lots of stuff on site.
Yeah.
And Thomas, the CEO of Wood Wizards, he actually said to me that one of the kids that we have he's got autism, and when the parent first brought him in, they had a really big concerns. And one day they came in, and this kid is like, sewing their little piece of wood, and they're like, "Oh my God, what are you doing? No!" And he goes, "Listen, leave him. Look at him," because they become calmer, they become more focused, they become more concentrated. Rubik's Cube record was set last year. This guy solved it in 3.13 seconds.
How is that even possible?
I have no idea.
I mean, by the time you actually grab the cube and start, that's 3 seconds gone.
Seriously, look at the video on YouTube.
And that was a kid with autism.
Evidently, that's right. That's what that was
shocking.
His. Yeah. So they again, I think as a mother of the child, you probably know exactly what is good for them.
A lot of the things that you just said, the remembering weird stuff, the patterns, the interpretation of I'm looking at something, he's looking at something, and he's seeing it in a completely different way. He'll pick up on details that I wouldn't even know. And we're not even talking about a kid with autism. We're talking about a kid who looks at a page with words and the words are jumping around and he can't focus. But put something else in front of him and that's it. I find it absolutely fascinating.
Well, they've done these studies. Apparently, kids with the various limitations, again, it's cognitive, social, learning, etc. They tend to actually choose STEM majors at college, and they're like 35% of the kids with autism, for example, they would choose a STEM-related degree.
Yeah.
And that is actually twice of the amount of general population students, if you look at the bigger perspective.
Okay.
However, 50% of these students, they lose interest in the STEM pursuits or decide that they are, irrelevant for their education or future. And that's, again, I think indicates where we as a society perhaps could do a lot of improvement.
Yeah, by embracing it more.
Yeah, it could be something that perhaps they need to be in a specific environment where
Well,
kids...
that's what I was going to say, Sean, because, if you're talking about 5 kids in a class with certain learning disabilities or on the autism spectrum, shouldn't you be providing an alternative educational system to those kids instead of just
100% agree with you.
having them all just in one class? And
this is exactly what we find within our initiative, is that these kids, they need to be provided with a different learning style.
Yep, that's it.
You cannot
learning
put them.
style.
You cannot put them under the same umbrella as kids that don't have those difficulties.
Yeah.
They need to be in a different environment. And I think educational system overall, it's very difficult for them to adapt it, or change it, or have a specific focus. It requires lots of resources, like, for example, specific mentors, lecturers, teachers, etc.
Special educators.
There needs to be an infrastructure for it, i.e. is going to be investment, etc. And this is why, again, I'm coming back to the point where the engagement between businesses and academia will really succeed. It's not about just convincing the European Union, European Commission, European Schoolnet about changing, the curriculum, because it's really so outdated. It's almost like counterproductive.
Productive, yeah.
Like look at Cyprus, for example. I think lots of teachers now finding themselves in a situation where they've got students in their class, the pupils that coming from the third countries, where there is a huge focus on development of the hard skills. So they're coming into the European system of education where the knowledge of subject like mathematics is really advanced.
Yeah.
And suddenly they're coming into the, Cyprus, into the even private schools, and they say to him like, we're just at this level. So it's not conducive. I imagine for the teacher how difficult it is for the teacher. To like, what do I do now with this child?
It's difficult for the teachers, and also on a more psychological side of things, when you're not picking up on the specific learning disabilities or being on the autism spectrum, those kids tend to just drop off. They are what we call the delinquents. They are what we call the bad kids. They are what we call the disruptors. And I feel that a majority, especially in Cyprus, because we have a huge problem right now with violence in schools. I think we were talking about it the other day on the phone as well. We're talking about drugs now. We're talking about literally students hitting teachers, teachers hitting students. It's getting physical. And a lot of these kids either have been diagnosed with ADHD or some form of learning disability, and they just do not find the appropriate response from the educational system to be able to funnel whatever it is that's going on that they have into a more productive way. And we're setting ourselves up for failure, basically.
Well, again, if the podcast business doesn't work for you, I think you should become an advisor for the educational system.
Well,
as a mother, you obviously got lots of
my mum,
live learning.
Yeah, my mum and my sister are educators.
Right.
And because I don't like kids, I always said that I could never become an educator myself.
Look at you now, three boys.
Well, I only like my kids and the ones in my periphery. But there are a lot of parents like me who are very, very concerned about the educational system and the progress of technology. So to end our lovely podcast with, I don't really want to end, but we have to because we're at 52 minutes. I would like to ask you, what do you feel that parents and educators should be pushing for more in order to bring these changes that we're discussing today? And also, if you could let us know a bit about what we can gain from coming to the festival on Saturday, the 20th of April, where I'm going to come as well with my boys. We're ready for that.
Looking forward to seeing you and your boys there. We feel that taking into the account even the point you mentioned about the violence at schools, the kids with a different sort of a background, different knowledge, etc. I think we as a parents, as an educators, and again, there has to be the engagement from the business community. We personally strongly believe in the concept of rights-based, proactively inclusive, academically diverse, and a gender-sensitive environment, particularly at school, but also at the home setting, And when I talk about academically inclusive, I don't talk. Okay, we called Youth Tech Fest, etc. And then there's a tech in there as a wording. But for us, it's not about technology. We feel that technology is just complements a lot of things. Like for example, this podcast. How do you reach out to your community? You need to have specific social media channels. You're using this recording system, etc., etc. You told me you started it in the car with the phone.
Yep.
Now you've got this fantastic equipment that was, bought to you by your supportive husband. You obviously needed to learn how to do it. So there's a technological thing that had to be, attached to everything that you do. So I think it's important that people know. But when we talk about our initiatives, again, we want people to have more of a holistic view on it, Like, for example, when we talk about academically diverse, we certainly believe in the power of the art, people getting involved in doing some kind of art activities, being environmentally aware of your environment. Big thing for the expat community as well when you're coming to a new country, so you become more familiar, more respectful of your surroundings. Making sure that, like the Cypriot children, especially from the underprivileged families that don't have opportunities to have, amazing labs, amazing, like iPads given to them as part of the school training and things like that. Yeah. I think they need to be brought into the environment of the future employers, for example, in the gaming companies, in the fintech, etc., and really get engaged and hear from people from different backgrounds, because that's how they're going to have a more respect. Because I think with the violence, apart from the gender, specifically social and migration background as well, a student's appearance will determine basically being bullied or hurt by the fellow students. Whereas if they have more awareness of it and they engage in different, even sports things like music and things like that, that's when you become more... you develop empathy, you develop, the team building kind of feelings. So if you were to come to our event, you will see an amazing, what we call it edutainment fair. So you'll have a different zones. There will be a XR/VR zone, extended virtual reality. We're going to have a science zone. We're going to have a robotics zones. We're going to have innovation zones. Everything is run by the professional, educators, entertainers, so it's all free to attend. We don't charge a penny for people to come. We believe access to quality education should be for all. So you will come with your children. You can engage with them directly. There will be like dancing workshops, capoeira. There is a cubing tournament going on. So if you want to meet some of the top enthusiasts in Rubik's Cube, is from over 8 countries, I believe, that are participating. Lots of giveaways. We also recently confirmed an interesting company that got a tech background but went into the fast food industry. So there will be free pizza available.
There's food, guys. You know me. If there's food, I'm there.
And I do have to say, apart from free entrance, free food, and free exciting entertainment, also the big thing, we are collaborating for this event with Frederick University in Limassol, and that provides a really convenient location. And for me, it's importantly, it's a free parking, because the parking in Limassol is a big issue.
That is important.
And they've got a massive hit. So come in, get engaged.
What time does it start, Sean?
Starts at 9 o'clock. It's finishing at 4. Again, lots of giveaways. We're even running the iPhone 15 raffle, and we give it live, so you have to be there. Check out our website. It's www.youthtechfest.com, and our official languages are Greek, English, and Russian.
Okay.
So, because we want to be welcoming to the multicultural society that we're living in.
Yep.
And for parents that also interested in learning more about, educational trends and technologies that are being used, we've got a summit that's happening in parallel to the fair, and it's on the 3rd floor of the building, so you're going to be away from all the screaming and noise.
All right, so we'll just leave the kids there and then go upstairs.
All the activities are age appropriate, so absolutely.
And excellent. Okay, all right. Thank you so much, Sean.
Thank you for having me.
For coming, for the discussion, for getting in touch with me, and I look forward to Saturday. I really, really do. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Looking forward to seeing you.